I never thought ambition could taste like expensive wine and bad decisions. But 3 weeks ago, sitting across from Victoria Chen in her corner office at midnight, watching her pour 2 glasses of Bordeaux while the city lights glittered 40 floors below, I learned that some promotions come with terms and conditions nobody puts in the employee handbook. I'm Daniel Reed, 29 years old, junior marketing analyst at Chen and Associates, and the guy who was about to discover that climbing the corporate ladder sometimes means burning bridges you didn't even know existed. 6 months ago, I'd been thrilled just to land this job. Fresh MBA, student loans the size of a mortgage, and a resume that screamed, "I'll work weekends for validation." The firm was prestigious, the kind of place where your business card made people take you seriously at networking events. I shared a cramped cubicle with 3 other analysts, survived on coffee and takeout, and told myself the 70-hour weeks were paying my dues. Then Victoria Chen noticed me. She was 45, senior partner, and the only woman in the C-suite who hadn't got there by being someone's daughter or wife. Sharp as a scalpel, elegant in that effortless way that comes from growing up with money, and completely terrifying during presentations. She'd built her own division from scratch, made the firm millions, and had a reputation for chewing up analysts who disappointed her. I'd been working on a campaign pitch for 3 months when she called me into her office for the first time. "Reed," she said without looking up from her screen, "the Hutchinson pitch? That was your research." "Yes, ma'am. Yes." I hated how my voice cracked slightly. She finally looked at me, dark eyes assessing. "It was good. Better than good." Martinez took credit during the meeting, but I checked the metadata. "That was your voice in every slide." My heart raced. Martinez was my direct supervisor, the guy who'd been promising to mentor me for months while taking my ideas and presenting them as collaborative efforts. "We worked on it together," I said carefully, "because calling out your boss in corporate America is career suicide." Victoria's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're diplomatic. Or scared. Probably both." She stood, moving to the window, and I couldn't help noticing how the afternoon light caught the silver in her dark hair, made her look like some kind of warrior queen surveying her kingdom. "How old are you, Daniel?" 29. "And you want to make senior analyst by 30? It wasn't a question. Everyone in the firm knew the unofficial timeline. Senior analyst by 30? Or, you're dead weight. "I do. Martinez is blocking you. He's threatened by talent. Always has been. He'll keep you in that cubicle doing his work until you burn out or quit." She turned back to me, leaning against her desk. "Unless someone above him intervenes?" The air in the room felt thicker suddenly. "I appreciate you noticing my work, Miss Chen." "Victoria," she corrected. "And I'm not just noticing. I'm offering. I need a new analyst in my division. Someone smart, hungry, willing to work closely with me on high-stakes projects. The position comes with a significant raise, your own office, and a direct path to associate within 2 years." It was everything I dreamed about. Literally the career trajectory I'd planned on my vision board, like some kind of corporate climber cliché. Thank you. Yes. Absolutely yes. Good. She picked up her phone, typed something. "Here it comes," I thought. The catch. Anything. These projects run late, odd hours, weekend work sometimes. I need someone who can be available, flexible, no girlfriend getting upset about canceled dinners. "I'm single," I said quickly. "Married to the job." Something flickered in her expression, too fast to read. "Perfect. Welcome to the team, Daniel." That was 3 months ago. The promotion was real. The office was real, though barely bigger than a closet. The raise meant I could finally afford an apartment without roommates who stole my almond milk. But what I didn't understand then, standing in her office feeling like I'd won the lottery, was that Victoria Chen never did anything without multiple layers of strategy. And I was about to become one of her most complicated projects. The late nights started innocently enough. "Daniel, can you stay to finish this deck?" "Daniel, client meeting tomorrow. Need you prepped." "Daniel, grab dinner. My treat. We'll work through the strategy." It was normal. Expected. Senior partners and their analysts worked long hours. Everyone knew that. But somewhere between the 3rd week and the 4th, something shifted. It was subtle at first. The way she'd lean over my shoulder to look at my screen, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Something sophisticated with notes of sandalwood and amber. The way her hand would rest on my shoulder just a second longer than professional when she was making a point. The way she'd laugh at my jokes, not the polite professional chuckle, but a real laugh, low and rich like aged whiskey. One night around 8, we were reviewing projections for a pharmaceutical pitch when she suddenly closed her laptop and sighed. I need a break. My brain is melting. Want me to grab you coffee? I offered, standing. God, no. If I have any more caffeine, I'll vibrate through the floor. She rubbed her temples, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked tired. Actually tired. Not just end-of-day professional fatigue, but bone-deep exhaustion. Do you ever just want to order terrible Chinese food and watch something mindless? I blinked, surprised by the sudden glimpse of humanity. All the time. That's basically my entire weekend routine. She smiled, and it was different from her boardroom smile. Softer. Real. Mine too. Except I pretend I'm doing it ironically. Like I'm too sophisticated to actually enjoy trashy reality TV. Are you, though? Not even a little bit. She stood, stretching, and I tried very hard not to notice how her silk blouse pulled across her shoulders, how she'd unbuttoned the top button at some point during the evening. Want to order from that place on 3rd? The one with the questionable health rating but amazing dumplings? This is dangerous, a voice in my head warned. This is your boss. This is crossing a line. Sure, I heard myself say. Sounds great. We ordered enough food for 4 people and spread it across her conference table, and for an hour we didn't talk about work at all. She told me about growing up in San Francisco, daughter of immigrants who'd built a restaurant empire and expected her to take over until she'd rebelled and gone into finance instead. They didn't speak to me for 2 years, she said, picking at lo mein with chopsticks. My mother said I was throwing away family legacy for white-collar nonsense. Are they proud of you now? I think so. They came to my partner ceremony, took pictures, told all their friends, but there's still this distance. Like I chose a different world and they're not sure how to visit. There was sadness in her voice that made my chest ache. That must be lonely. She looked at me, really looked at me, and something passed between us that wasn't about work or hierarchy or professional boundaries. It is, she said quietly. Most things at the top are. My phone buzzed, breaking the moment. A text from my ex, asking if I had her Netflix password. I ignored it. Relationship? Victoria asked, nodding at my phone. Ex, 6 months ago. She wanted me to choose between the job and her. Let me guess. You chose the job. I chose not to be given an ultimatum by someone who didn't understand ambition. I set my phone face down. She's a teacher. Great person. But she couldn't understand why I'd work until midnight or cancel plans for a client emergency. Said I was choosing status over love. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then, people who haven't fought for what they have don't understand people who have. They think ambition is about greed or status. They don't get that sometimes it's about proving something to yourself. Exactly. I felt seen in a way I hadn't in months. Everyone acts like wanting success makes you shallow. It doesn't make you shallow. It makes you hungry. And there's nothing wrong with hunger. The way she said it, low and intense, made something coil tight in my stomach. I became suddenly very aware that we were alone in her office at 9 p.m., that the building was mostly empty, that she was looking at me like I was something interesting instead of just an employee. Stop it, I told myself. She's your boss. She's 16 years older. This is just dinner. Completely normal. Mentor-mentee dinner. Except mentors don't usually look at you like they're trying to figure out what you taste like. I should probably head home, I said, standing abruptly. Long day. If she was disappointed, she hid it well. Of course. Thank you for staying late. And for... She gestured at the takeout containers. The company. It's nice to remember there's life outside spreadsheets sometimes. Anytime, I said, and meant it more than I should have. As I gathered my things, she called out, Daniel? I turned back. You're going to go far in this business. You have good instincts. Trust them. I left feeling like I'd passed some kind of test I hadn't known I was taking. The second almost moment happened 2 weeks later. We were presenting to a major client, a pharmaceutical company considering a rebrand worth millions. I'd spent 70 hours on the research, building models and projections and creative concepts that I knew were solid. The presentation went perfectly. Victoria was brilliant, commanding the room with that effortless authority that made people lean forward in their seats. And when she referenced my research, she gave me credit, calling me up to explain the data model I'd built. Afterward, in the elevator down from the client's office, she was practically vibrating with excitement. They're going to sign. Did you see the CEO's face during your model presentation? We have them. It was a team effort. Stop. She turned to me, her smile fierce and proud. Take the win, Daniel. You earned this. The elevator was empty except for us. 40 floors to the ground. Just enough time for the adrenaline and mutual excitement to turn into something more dangerous. I couldn't have done it without your guidance, I said. And I couldn't have built the strategy without your research. We make a good team. The way she said team made it sound like something more than professional. She stepped closer. We were standing maybe 6 inches apart now, close enough that I could see the flecks of amber in her dark eyes. Could smell her perfume mixed with the faint scent of her shampoo. Something clean and expensive. Daniel, she started, her voice low. The elevator dinged. 10th floor. Someone got on. Victoria stepped back smoothly, professionally, and we rode the rest of the way down in silence. But I felt the weight of what hadn't happened between us. Heavy and electric and impossible to ignore. That night, alone in my apartment, I couldn't stop replaying the moment. The way she'd looked at me. The way I'd wanted to close that 6-inch gap and consequences be damned. This is insane, I thought. She's your boss. This could ruin everything. But I also couldn't deny that working with Victoria, being around her, made me feel more alive than I'd felt in years. 3 days later, the client signed. 8 figures. The biggest deal of my career. Victoria declared we were celebrating. Drinks, she said, standing in my office doorway at 6 p.m. That's an order, Reed. We went to a bar near the office, the kind of expensive place with leather booths and a whiskey selection that required a sommelier. She ordered a bottle of something I couldn't pronounce, and we toasted to success. 1 drink became 2, became 3, and somewhere in there the conversation shifted from professional triumph to something more personal, more raw. You know what nobody tells you about success? She said. Her words slightly loosened by alcohol, but her gaze sharp and focused. It's lonely. You work your whole life to get to the top, and when you finally arrive, you realize the view is beautiful, but there's no one to share it with. You could have anyone you wanted, I said before I could stop myself. She laughed, but it was bitter. Could I? I'm 45, Daniel. Divorced. Married to my work. Most men my age want someone younger, less threatening. And younger men? She trailed off, looking at me in a way that made my pulse spike. Younger men see me as their boss or their mother figure, not as a woman. That's not true, I said quietly. Isn't it? I don't see you that way. The confession hung between us, dangerous and honest. How do you see me? Her voice was barely above a whisper. This was it. The moment where I could laugh it off, deflect, keep everything professional and safe, or I could tell the truth and let whatever was building between us ignite. I see someone brilliant and driven, and beautiful, I said. The whiskey making me brave or stupid or both. I see someone who works until midnight, not because she has to, but because she loves what she's built. I see someone who's lonely and doesn't have to be. Victoria's expression was unreadable. Then, slowly, she reached across the table and took my hand. This is complicated, she said. I know. I'm your boss. If anyone found out, I know. We could both lose everything. I know, I said again. And I don't care. That was a lie. I did care. I cared about my career and my reputation and all the things I'd worked for. But in that moment, with her hand in mine and her eyes on my face like I was something precious, I cared about her more. Come back to the office with me, she said. There's something I need to tell you. Something that doesn't leave this room. We went back to Chen and Associates at midnight. The building empty except for cleaning staff and the perpetual hum of servers. Her office felt different in the darkness, more intimate, the city lights through the windows turning everything soft and surreal. She poured wine from a bottle she kept in her cabinet, handed me a glass, and moved to stand by the window. "I'm going to tell you something that doesn't leave this room," she said, her back to me, her silhouette outlined against the glittering cityscape. 5 years ago, I was passed over for managing partner. You know why? Because I didn't fit the culture. Translation: I was a woman, I was direct, and I didn't play golf with the right old boys. She turned, and her eyes were fierce. So I built my own power base, made myself indispensable. Now they can't touch me. She paused, taking a sip of wine. But it cost me everything else. My marriage, most of my friendships, any hope of a normal life. And lately I've been wondering if it was worth it. You built an empire, I said. That has to count for something. Does it? What good is an empire if you're alone in it? She set down her glass and crossed the room toward me, deliberate and purposeful. When you walked into my division 3 months ago, I told myself it was just professional interest. You were talented, hardworking, exactly what I needed on my team. She stopped in front of me, close enough to touch, but that was a lie. From the first conversation, I wanted to know you, not just as an analyst, but as a person. And the more I learned, the more I wanted. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Victoria, I'm 45 years old, she continued, her voice steady but her hands shaking slightly. I've spent my entire adult life playing it safe, following the rules, being appropriate. And I'm tired, Daniel. I'm tired of being alone. Tired of pretending I don't feel things I'm not supposed to feel. She reached up, her hand cupping my face, and her touch sent electricity through every nerve. So I'm going to be inappropriately honest. I'm attracted to you. Emotionally, intellectually, physically, and if you tell me this is one-sided, I'll respect that and we'll never speak of it again. But if you feel even a fraction of what I'm feeling, I kissed her. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was fierce and claiming and tasted like expensive wine and years of denied wants, and she kissed me back like she'd been drowning and I was air. We broke apart breathing hard, and she smiled. That dangerous smile I was beginning to recognize meant trouble. My office or yours? She asked. Yours has a better view. She laughed, taking my hand and pulling me toward the couch by her window. What happened next was everything I'd imagined and nothing I'd expected. She was commanding and vulnerable in equal measure, confident in her body in a way that made me forget every reservation I'd had about age or propriety or consequences. Afterward, lying tangled together on her office couch while the city sparkled below us, she traced patterns on my chest and said, "This stays between us. No one can know. I know. I'm serious, Daniel. Not colleagues, not friends, not family. What we have exists in this room and nowhere else." I should have recognized the red flag, should have seen that starting anything on a foundation of secrecy was doomed. But I was drunk on her and success and the feeling of being wanted by someone powerful and amazing, and I couldn't see past the next moment. "I can handle it," I said. She kissed me again, and I believed we could make this work. For 3 weeks, we did. We were careful, or we thought we were. Late nights became our excuse to be together. Weekend work sessions meant stolen hours in her penthouse apartment. We texted in code, met in restaurants outside our neighborhood, built an entire relationship in the shadows. It was intoxicating and unsustainable in equal measure. The beginning of the end came on a Tuesday. We were in a strategy meeting, going over Q4 projections, when Victoria's hand brushed mine under the table as she passed me a document. It was barely a touch, a fraction of a second. But Martinez saw it. I watched his eyes narrow, watched the calculation happen in real time. He'd been hostile since my promotion, making snide comments about favoritism and questionable advancement strategies. But this was different. This was ammunition. The meeting ended and he cornered me in the hallway. My office. Now, I followed him, dread pooling cold in my stomach. He closed the door, crossed his arms, and the smile on his face was ugly. "Want to tell me what's going on between you and Chen? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play stupid, Reed. I've been watching. The late nights, the way she looks at you, the promotion that came out of nowhere." He stepped closer. "You're sleeping with her, aren't you? That's how you got moved up. That's how a nobody analyst gets his own office and FaceTime with clients?" My hands clenched into fists. My promotion was based on merit. I worked my ass off. You worked your ass off, all right, just not on spreadsheets. He laughed, cruel and satisfied. This is perfect. Victoria Chen, feminist icon, sleeping with a subordinate young enough to be her son. The board is going to love this. You can't prove anything, can't I? Security logs show you leaving her office at 2 a.m. multiple times. Your calendar is filled with meetings that are just the two of you. And I have a witness who saw you two at Marcello's last week, holding hands across the table. My blood ran cold. We'd been so careful. Or we thought we had. What do you want? I asked quietly. His smile widened. I want you gone. Resign by Friday. Leave quietly. Tell everyone you got a better offer somewhere else. He leaned against his desk, enjoying this. Or, I go to HR and file a formal complaint. And when they investigate, and they will, they'll find enough to bury both of you. She'll probably survive it. She's too valuable to actually fire. But you? You're expendable. And when this story gets out, you'll be blacklisted from every firm in the city. You're doing this because I'm better than you, I said, anger overriding fear. Because Victoria saw my talent and your inadequacy. Maybe, he shrugged. Or maybe I just don't like watching people fuck their way to the top while the rest of us actually work for it. Either way, you're done. Resign or burn. Your choice. I left his office and went straight to Victoria's. She took one look at my face and knew. Martinez, she said. Not a question. I told her everything. The threat, the evidence, the ultimatum. She listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. And when I finished, she turned to look out her window at the city she'd conquered. He's not wrong about one thing, she said quietly. They'll give me a slap on the wrist, maybe a formal reprimand. But you? She turned back to me, and I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Fear. You're 29. Daniel. Junior associate at best. Expendable. They'll make an example of you. Inappropriate relationship with a superior, abuse of position, conflict of interest. They'll destroy your reputation and blacklist you from the industry. So, what do? I asked, even though I was starting to suspect I knew the answer. You resign, she said, and her voice was steady but her hands were shaking. Take a position at another firm. I'll make calls, open doors. We can say you got recruited away. In 6 months, when this is blown over and you're established somewhere else, we can see each other openly. Date like normal people. That's your solution? I couldn't keep the anger out of my voice. I give up everything I've worked for? We hide for 6 months and hope people forget? I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. My voice was louder than I'd intended. I need you to fight for this. For us. If what we have means anything, we don't let Martinez dictate our lives. Daniel, be realistic. I am being realistic. You're asking me to walk away from my career, my reputation, everything, while you stay comfortable in your corner office. The words were coming faster now, fueled by hurt and betrayal. You said you were tired of playing it safe. You said you wanted someone to share your empire with. But the second it gets difficult, you're ready to sacrifice me to protect yourself. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I was angry now. Properly angry. And something in me was breaking. You pursued me. You said you saw me as more than an analyst. You made me believe this was real. That you cared about me as much as I cared about you. But now I see the truth. When it comes down to choosing between your career and me, I'm the disposable one. Her expression hardened, the Ice Queen partner sliding back into place like armor. I'm trying to be realistic, Daniel. This was always going to be complicated. I warned you about secrets, about keeping this quiet. Secrets are one thing, cowardice is another. The word hung between us, sharp and cutting. I watched her flinch, watched the hurt flash across her face before she controlled it. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, quietly, she said, "Get out. Victoria, get out." Her voice was cold now, final. We'll discuss your resignation tomorrow. I'll have HR prepare a generous severance package, write you a stellar recommendation. You'll land somewhere good, I promise. I don't want your recommendation, I said, my throat tight. I wanted you to choose me. Sometimes being an adult means making hard choices. No, I cut her off. Sometimes being an adult means fighting for what matters, but I guess I don't matter enough. I left her office for what I knew would be the last time, walked out of Chen and Associates and didn't look back. I didn't resign. Instead, I went to HR myself, told them everything, about Victoria and me, about Martinez's blackmail attempt, about the impossible position I'd been put in. The investigation took 2 weeks and was brutal. They interviewed everyone, pulled security logs, examined every interaction. Victoria and I didn't speak during it, passing each other in hallways like strangers. The conclusion was messier than anyone wanted. Victoria got a formal reprimand for failing to disclose a relationship with a subordinate and completed mandatory ethics training. Martinez got demoted for creating a hostile work environment and threatening behavior. HR determined his blackmail attempt was worse than our secret relationship, and I got transferred to a different division, same level, same pay, reporting to someone else entirely. It wasn't the ending anyone wanted, but it was the ending we got. I haven't spoken to Victoria since that day in her office 6 months ago. I see her sometimes at company meetings, in the elevator, in the lobby. We nod politely like professional colleagues who barely know each other. Sometimes I catch her looking at me, and I see something in her eyes that might be regret or might just be reflection. I'm 30 now. Made senior analyst last month through a different path than I'd planned. But I got here, built my reputation on my own work, earned respect from colleagues who know nothing about that brief, intense relationship that almost cost me everything. And I learned something about ambition and desire and the price of mixing the two. Some promotions cost more than they're worth. Some relationships can't survive the light of day. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself over what you want, even when it feels like tearing yourself in half. Victoria was right about one thing, though. Corporate advancement is about relationships and strategic partnerships. I just wish she'd taught me that sometimes the most strategic move is knowing when to walk away. Last week, I ran into her in the parking garage. It was late, past 8, and we were both heading to our cars. For a moment, we just stood there. Two people who'd once known each other intimately, now separated by 6 months and a million unsaid words. Daniel, she said finally, and my name in her mouth still made something in my chest ache. Victoria, I heard about your promotion. Congratulations, you earned it. Thank you. Silence stretched between us, heavy with history. She started, then stopped. Took a breath. I'm sorry. For how things ended. I looked at this woman who'd once made me feel seen and valued and alive, who'd also taught me that sometimes people will sacrifice you to protect themselves, and felt something like closure. We both did, I said. Deserve better, I mean. Maybe in another life, without the power dynamics and the secrets and the fear, we could have worked. Maybe, she agreed quietly. For what it's worth, you weren't disposable to me. You were terrifying. I know, I said. And I did. I understood now that her choice hadn't been about my value, but about her fear. It didn't make it hurt less, but it helped me understand. There's someone else, she said suddenly. A colleague at a different firm. My age, my level. We're taking it slow, being appropriate. She smiled sadly. It's nice. Safe. But it's not. Don't, I cut her off gently. Don't do that to either of us. She nodded, understanding. Take care of yourself, Daniel. You too, Victoria. I got in my car and drove away, and this time I really didn't look back. Ambition is a strange thing. It drives you forward, pushes you to climb higher, promises that the view from the top will be worth the climb. But nobody tells you that sometimes the most important thing isn't reaching the summit, it's knowing what you're willing to lose along the way. I wanted success, recognition, advancement. I got all of that. Eventually, through hard work and talent and refusing to take shortcuts even when they were offered. But for a brief, intense moment, I also wanted Victoria Chen. Wanted her intelligence and her strength, and the way she made me feel like I was someone worth choosing. The irony is that she chose her career over me, and in doing so, taught me to choose mine over her. We both got what we wanted, I suppose. We're just spending the rest of our lives wondering if it was worth the price.